Hey guys, and welcome back to the Dr Medicape YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be diving into zoonotic infections and zoonosis, their definition, their classification, and all of the important exam theory. So I hope you enjoy the video and stay tuned. By definition, a zoonosis is an infection that spreads from animals to humans, either directly or indirectly through vectors like mosquitoes and ticks. So these infections can be bacterial in nature, they can be viral in nature, they can be fungal in nature, or they can be parasitic in nature. Before we dive into specific diseases, I think it's very important that we clarify two key terms, which are reservoir and vector. A reservoir is the natural host where the pathogen lives and multiplies. For example, in rabies, we know that the virus it multiplies in dogs or other vertebrate mammals. So in the case of rabies, dogs is the reservoir. On the other hand, we also know that there are diseases like plague, in which basically the infection it resides in the rat. However, when a rat flea sucks this blood from the infected rat and it bites a human also, then it is transmitted to the human. So in the case of plague, even though the rat is a reservoir, the infection itself is transmitted by the infected rat flea. So a vector is basically an organism that transmits the infection. Diving into our first example, going over it again, we have rabies, in which we know that the dog or other vertebrate mammals like, I would say bats, they are the reservoir. And also in the case of rabies, you know that the dog itself, it bites the human. So in this case, the dog is both the reservoir also, and it's also the vector. Coming to our second case, which is plague, in which we know that the vector is the rat flea, the reservoir is the wild rodents. I've made a detailed video on plague in the description. I'll probably link it and also in the comments. So check that out. And if you get an example, if you get a example or question on zoonotic infections, so you can always write about plague to supplement your answer. Coming to the second important topic is the classification of zoonotic infections. So, how do we exactly classify these zoonotic infections? We classify them based on the reservoir host. Before diving into the definitions with which I'll provide an easy trick, let's just understand the three situations that are possible. In the first case, the animal is a reservoir host and it transmits this infection to the human. Sorry. So it, so it transmits the infection to the human. In the second case, what we see is that the infection it travels bidirectionally. It travels from human to animal also and from animal to human. And in the third case, we can see that the infection travels from man to animal. And in this case, in the third case, man is the reservoir host. So, if infections are transmitted from animals to man, then they are known as anthropozoonoses. An easy way to remember this is A for animals, and it goes to man, A for animals, A for anthropozoonosis. Once you remember this much, the rest becomes pretty easy. Infection that is transmitted from man to animal is zooanthropozoonosis. And an infection that may be transmitted bidirectionally or in either direction, this is known as amphixenosis. So, an easy way to remember animal to man, A for animal, A for anthropozoonosis. And second one, zoo comes first, then anthroponosis. And if it travels in both direction, we have amphixenosis. Now you might be wondering, as doctors, why do we exactly study these zoonotic infections? Because zoonotic infections, they're very, very crucial for public health. With increasing human to animal interactions, there's an increased chances of basically these infections being transmitted in either way. As we know, recently there was a huge COVID-19 pandemic. The whole world literally shut down because uh, from bats in Wuhan, China, the COVID-19 virus was transmitted to humans when they consume these bats, or so they say so. And on the other hand, we also know of the Black Death, the plague that killed one third of the European population. It was also a zoonotic infection. So that's really all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and make sure you share it to your friends. I've also linked a video for plague probably in the comments. So make sure you check that out as well. It's a 15-minute video, but the topic itself, it can be covered in 7 to 8 minutes. And I'm sure if you just give one look through the video with easy tips and tricks, I'm sure you'll have it memorized by the end. So, anyways, once again,